here. So it's indeed a pleasure, and it is always a privilege to be in the house of the Lord. And tonight I would like to share a message which I call Jesus, the ultimate ladies' man. And I would first of all like to go for the definitions that have been offered to us for a ladies' man. The Urban Dictionary tells us that a ladies' man is a man who the ladies love, easy to talk to, or love being around, a man who has the respect of women. The Free Dictionary tells us that a man who strives to please women and to attract their attention and admiration. And Webster says a man who shows a marked fondness for the company of women or is especially attentive to women. And I believe that one of our tasks as a community, as a church, as parents, is to teach our young men how to be proper ladies' men, to respect women, to love women, to stand with women and not against them, and to teach our women how to expect to be treated by men, and not to take anything less than ultimate respect, anything less than how Jesus approached women. So here you have, in a time when women were so unloved, just cast your mind back to Bible times and recall the stories. When women were so unloved and disparaged, Jesus emerges for us as the ultimate ladies' man. He was born of a virgin, and yet he was so comfortable with prostitutes and with women of ill repute. And I believe that in some of these stories, we get a little insight into how we should approach relationships with women. In the first instance, I want us to just look at the story of the woman taken in adultery. It says, they're just going to read the passage. Jesus came down from the Mount of Olives, come down on a high. He come down from the mountain on a high. And early in the morning, he came into the temple, and the people came to see him. And he sat down and taught them. So he's in the flow of his ministry. And the scribes and Pharisees brought to him a woman caught in adultery. So if she's caught in adultery, some versions say that she's caught in the very act of adultery. So you can imagine her condition being caught in the very act of adultery. That her state of undress, maybe. And I don't know what you know about the act of adultery, but it is clear that adultery involves two people. Yet only the woman was brought. Only the woman was brought. And two were caught, but one was brought. And here she was thrown down and say, here she is, we've caught her in adultery. And then comes the law. It's always the law, and the law is always harsh against women. We caught this woman in the very act. Moses in his law commanded that such a woman should be stoned. What do you say? You're not testing him that he might do something so they could accuse him. But he stooped down. He stooped down and identified with the woman. I want to put it to us that in life, there will be many things and there will be many circumstances and there will be many instances where we'll be invited, and it's often tempting to stand with the majority against the woman, to stand with the rest of the men against the woman. That is usually the popular position. Even when talking about women, sometimes the conversation, when it's among men alone, is such that you will just cooperate and listen, and things will be said and it won't be challenged. But Jesus' first posture, remember the law was laid down, you know. The law was laid down. Moses, they quoted the law to him. And his response is to get down with the woman and identify with her as one. And he wrote on the ground with his fingers. And I continued to ask him, raise himself up, and said, he without sin among you cast the first stone. I have read many books talking about bad men. I have met many a bad man. I've never seen a statement as bad as this. In other words, stone her if you're bad. One of your liquor if you're bad. Notice Jesus' posture. He takes the very suggestion that was given to him, stone her to death. And he doesn't say, no, don't stone her to death. He say, yes, stone her. Stone her to death. That's what you come for. That's what you want. Stone her to death if you have no sin. That is one of the baddest statements I've ever come across. An invitation to do the harm, to do the damage that they came with the intention to do. But it have a qualification. If you have no sin. But I still think that is a dangerous thing to say to people. Because these were Pharisees and Sadducees and scribes. These were very righteous people. So what if there was somebody there without sin? What if there was somebody there without sin? And even if there was somebody there with sin, but just recently slaughtered the dove and the lamb and get purity. Just find themselves, just walk upon the scene after the sacrifice. So now they're pure. They're now entitled to stone this woman. What a risk to put the woman in. But before you can throw a stone, you know, you have to sin. You have to sin. Because sin don't start with the act. It starts with the thought. So if you just get cleanliness and you're all pure and everything is good, the very act of thinking about doing it, you have the stone in your hand, ready to cast. How can you cast it? Because you start all over, I just sin. I have to go pray again. I just sin. Every time you grab the stone, you can't throw the stone. You can hold the stone, but you can't throw the stone because you have to sin before you throw the stone, and he without sin cast the first stone. You can never cast that stone. So what Jesus effectively did is overturned the law. This is worse than any repeat. This is more profound than overturning an act of parliament or repealing a law. Because there's no one greater than Moses now. And I'm saying to you, yes, you come with Moses, but I'm giving you Jesus. I'm saying, cast it if you have no sin. And everybody dropped the stone and walked away. So, since Jesus is the Messiah, and since Jesus is so pure, and since Jesus is not without sin, why didn't he stone her? Because he's now under the law too. And let's just read the end of the story. They all walked away, as you know, and from the oldest to the youngest. He said to the woman, he could have left it there now, but he's changing the whole order now. This, I believe, there are many places you can say Jesus began his ministry, but this, I believe, is the establishment of Jesus as the ultimate icon here. Whatever you've heard before, I'm not even going to let those men walk away and let the story die. I'm going to do something so profound and so life-changing. He said to the woman, where are those who accuse you? Right? So he said, where are they? They're gone. They're gone. She said to him, no, Lord, they're gone, right? He said, no, neither do I condemn you. Go. So even though he could have, he didn't. Introducing grace. We are no longer under a law. We are not under a law that condemns us. Let no one condemn us. We are under grace. At that very moment, Jesus said to the people around him, this is a new law. This is grace we're talking about. We are under grace. And he didn't just let it go. He underscored it because he was supposed to stone her. And he didn't. He said, I'm entitled to stone you, but I'm not going to do that because I'm here to usher in grace. And then he closed by saying, and then he sets up himself to the people, in case they didn't know who was the man in the house now. I am the light of the world. He who follows after me shall not walk in darkness, but have the light of life. This is the invitation for us tonight, This is the invitation to walk after Christ and Christ's example. I was going to close with another instance where Christ is invited and tempted to join the masses. It is the other story where yet another woman, this woman a bit more bold. She's not brought to Christ now. She seeks out her way. Women are always being brought to Christ or trying to find their way to Christ. This woman is finding her way to Christ, and the disciples are getting a little bit of ego over this, thinking it's about them, but it's not about them. Went out on the party, you know the woman we're talking about. Woman approached him and said, listen, have mercy on me, O Lord, son of David. My daughter is severely demon-possessed. You know, a woman would do anything for them children, anything for them daughter. He answered, he didn't answer a word. Let's hear from the disciples. Now, in case, you know your parents always say, don't follow bad company. It's not even bad company you should worry about, Sometimes good company will let you down. Because anybody would argue that the disciples are good company. Once they've been brought away from their fishing life and tax collecting life and so on, and like a reformator, a reformed a little bit, you can say a good company. Good company. But even the disciples here says no, hold on now, they say, send her away, for she cries after us. She's not looking at them, she don't care about them, she's not about them, she's after the man with the medicine. But they all of a sudden they're self-important because they're walking on with Jesus. Send this woman away. And this was the attitude towards women in the day. And this is why you can't understand women then as you understand women now, because even though women are this now still and treated unfairly and equally now, back then it was so bad. It was so bad. And Christ reformed everything. And it says send her away. And remember I told you sometimes that Jesus liked to work with your agenda. So he's not saying to the disciples, no, how you treat the woman so bad. How you treat the woman so bad. He said to the disciples, I'm going to show you how to treat a woman bad. That's not bad. Send her away. Listen to the conversation. Send her away. He answers and said, listen up. I was not sent except for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Implication, that's not you. I'm not sent here for you, woman. I'm sent for the lost sheep of Israel. And she came and worshipped him some more. And she said, Lord, help me. Putting the woman in a position to beg. Some people, they're not too proud to beg. Some people are too proud to beg, but they're not too proud to beg for their children. And he wanted the disciples to know what they were doing by saying, send her away. And he said to them, you don't know how to diss a woman. Let me show you how to diss a woman. Right? She said, Lord, this is after him now, on the knees, Lord, help me. He answered her, said, it is not good to take the children's bread and throw it to a little dog. It's not good to show it to the dogs. Often, so what Christ was trying to show you, men, I'm going to show you what you do when you talk to women like that and you treat women like that. Let me do it. When you're doing a thing that is wicked and dreadful, you often can't see it. Sometimes you watch a movie and you see somebody else do something bad, and you see it then. So Christ said, let me show you what you're doing. You say, send this woman away. That's not how you send away a woman. Say, woman, I don't mind. What I have is not for the dog. Run away. What I have is not for the dog. The only reason he could do that because he knew the stamina, the character, and the power and personality in this woman. It's because he could understand the resilience in this woman. And he understood that she would have a retort. He first thought, oh, sheep. Sheep is nice and cuddly. Then he put, you're not a sheep. You're a dog. A contrast. What a contrast. What a contrast. But the woman picks up on Christ's form of use of situations and language. Christ have a style. Christ listen to you, you say that, him say, yeah, you're right. The woman pick up immediately on his style of dealing with situation, and say, yes, Christ, you're right. You're right. I am a dog. I am a dog. She says to him, yes, Lord. Yet even the little dogs eat the crumbs which fall from the master's table. Of course I'm a dog, but even dogs get crumbs. This is not somebody looking for a bellyful. This is somebody looking for medicine. Medicine often comes in small sizes. A little injection, you can't see it or you can't feel it. Or a little tablet, a little pill is like a crumb. This is not a woman looking for a bellyful for herself. This is a woman looking for medication for her child. And medication is a thing that the active ingredient, if it is in the loaf, it is in the crumb. And she was after the active ingredient, and she knew it could come from Christ. And she played along with Christ's lessons to the men, so-called men, about how a woman should be treated. And then Jesus answered and said to her, oh woman, not just woman, oh woman. This is an ode, this is a tribute, this is pausing everything. The disciples now are stunned. It says, oh woman, great is your faith. Let it be as you desire. And her daughter was healed in the very hour. In other words, I am your servant now. You talk about daughter, I am your servant. You have commissioned me to heal your daughter, and I will serve you by healing your daughter. This is what it is to be a man. This is what it is to be a ladies' man, to serve at the pleasure of women, to make women leave our company better than they came to our company. And I think this is what we need to teach our young men, and this is what we should insist that our young women demand of the men in their lives. May God bless this message to you. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much for that word.